again. Oh, again for those who've been to my session yesterday, and good morning today. Oh, I have extra minute. Thank you. So how's it going? Fine, because second day of the conference, everything has just started. Today will be a party, or social event it's called. All right, so today, also I will present, as you can see, and this time I will talk about something different. Not the same it was yesterday. If you remember, the yesterday session was a bit geeky, like when I showed you debugger, assembly language, and it was important to understand the bypasses. This time it will not be that bad. I mean that bad because assembly language quite often is hard to understand for many, even if you are working security. So today's session will be less complicated from my perspective, so should be quite nice. And I will use PowerShell here to attack this time. So if yesterday we tried to bypass PowerShell protection, this time we'll use PowerShell as the tool to attack. My name is Sergey. Oh, I will say who am I soon again. Hey. Oh, here we go. So thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to you as well. Every time when I say that at the conferences, because thanks to sponsors, they help to organize, but without you, this conference will not take place. So thank you all that you participate. All right, so a few words about myself. My name is Sergey. I'm from Russia. And so like many people think that the Russians, they do some hacking. I don't know why. But that's my burden to talk about those offensive things. What I usually do, I work as pen tester and implementer, also instructor, speak at conferences. By the way, this session I created this session for DEF CON conference. And you may find the recording at Adversary Village of DEF CON. But that session was changed a bit because it was last year. Because some technologies changed, and so the session was changed as well. I'm Microsoft MVP, OSCP, and many other things. Also, you may find me on LinkedIn if you want to contact me later or track where I speak, maybe online, maybe offline. All right, so before I start the session, one quick story about Azure AD and why it's important to protect that. So after one of the conferences, I had a conversation via LinkedIn with one of the guy from US. And that was his message. What do Americans think about Russians? So I don't think I need to read that out loud. You can see it. So that was his message first. And 1 month after, he sent me another one. And he had a screenshot. So that was his Azure AD, and all attempts to log in, oh, except Tokyo. Not yet. So they were from Russia. All right, so someone from somewhere always try, not always, but so attackers in the world, they try to attack public resources, and Azure AD will be another exclusion here. But what I want to do in this session, I want to talk about hybrid, because when you have cloud AD and on-premise AD, you must protect both environments. And quite often between them, between on-premises and the cloud, there may be also a number of weaknesses. And that's what I want to show you here. And I will use, again, PowerShell as an offensive tool. So what I will cover in this session. First of all, I'm going to talk about AD Connect and how AD Connect may be compromised. And by using AD Connect, how can you compromise everything else? I mean, the whole Active Directory by compromising AD Connect. Next one, we will talk about AD Connect Cloud Sync. AD Connect Cloud Sync, that's like a new generation of AD Connect when you have the service to sync in the cloud. All right? And so in the cloud, how that may be compromised. Then I'm going to show you how we can steal credentials from on-prem. How can you steal credentials somewhere from on-premises and connect to the cloud? And finally, how can we enumerate cloud with a tool called AzureHound? All right, and as usual, this session will be based on live demos. Yesterday, I showed you more slides because I tried to explain you how EMSI work. Here, I don't need that. So I can jump right to the demo and just show you. I think I have only 3 slides. Let me just check that. So slide number 1, number 2, and number 3. That's it, I guess. So yeah, most of the time you will see live demos. So let's get started. By the way, before we start, let me ask you: anyone here manage AD Connect? Wow, that's nice. So you will see that will be very interesting. Let me just do not recover. And let me click cancel here for the moment. I don't need it right now. So when you deploy AD Connect, one of the things that you should know about, like when you run initial configuration, you must add directory, right? And so when you add directory, you must specify credentials of AD connector account. So this account will be used to read information from on-prem AD. Make sense? Because somehow this request to read users from on-prem must be authenticated, and so we must create a user. We may create a user ourselves, but more commanded is to provide enterprise admin credentials to AD Connect, and AD Connect will create user itself and delegate all privileges. So it will not use an enterprise admin for the connector. It will use credentials only to create account and delegate privileges. So that is more commanded. So if I keep the first option and jump to DC, what I can find in the folder users, where's my zoom it? Excuse me, one moment. Looks like it didn't start automatically. Let's try again. Yeah, so if I go to users, I can find an account called MSOL _ and something else. So it depends on your environment. And if I look at this account should seem fine. Let's take a look. If I go to membership, member of, it's just a user. I mean, it's not the main admin. It's just a regular user. But at the same time, if I jump back the slide for a moment and show you one interesting thing. So when you configure AD Connect, you also enable a number of options. And one of the options that you will find in every best practices, almost, at least official best practices, is to enable password hash sync. Am I correct? So when you read about best practices, that's one of the first recommendations. Enable password hash sync. So if you lose connectivity between your on-prem and the cloud, you still have hashes in the cloud, stored in the cloud, and you may use them for authentication. But every time when you enable those options, account will have more privileges. And let's take a look. So on the right, option, on the left, privilege. If I enable password hash sync, which is recommended, account will have those privileges. Replicate directory changes, all. That's the privilege that will be usually used by domain controllers. The reason why do we have this privilege, by account has this privilege, because you cannot read passwords normally, right? So as an administrator, you cannot even look at the password of user and say, oh, your password is I love you or whatever. I really like you. So you cannot just read passwords normally. We need to have some other ways to read password, and that will be done by replication. That's why a MSOL account will have replication privileges. Let me show you that real quick. If I look at the properties, look at the object. Oh, no, sorry, security. Properties of domain. and find here MSOL and scroll a bit here. Yeah, look at this. So this account has those privileges. All right, so looks like MSL account is very sensitive, because how can we use this privilege? I will show you slightly later, but looks like it's quite sensitive, right? Now what we need to know, what we need to find, how can we compromise this account and how we can use this privilege. So how account may be compromised? Let me go back to AD connector. This account credentials are stored in database of AD Connect. So if I connect to if I connect to AD Connect database, which is AD Sync, there's a table called Management Agent. If I look into that, and I don't need to read all information, so I just need to have a column called private configuration XML. Let me remove that and run again. Expand that. So now if I scroll a bit, maybe on this projector it will be harder to find, but so here I can see account, but it's not password. So somewhere it must be password. Somewhere it will be there. But to be fair, it's harder to see it because of the lighting. So somewhere password is there. I'm not really sure where. So password will be there, but it will say encrypted. So password in the database, but password is encrypted. So it's stored. Oh, looks like I found that. I found it. So password is encrypted. It's in the database, but I cannot see it in the plain text. But if it's there, somehow it may be used, right? And now the question, how we can decrypt that? And who can decrypt that? So it's encrypted using what's called Data Protection API. And so local admin of this server or AD Connect admin will be able to decrypt that. And now let's use PowerShell to do it. So I'm going to open PowerShell. And I'm going to use a module called AD Connect Dump. So that's a public tool. That's not my tool. If you want to find, I also publish it on my GitHub to make it simple to find. But you may find that tool publicly. If you don't mind, I'm not going to show you what's inside because it will take a while. I just want to run it. And now look at this. So we have MSOL account, and we have this crazy long password. Now, what I can do right now, for some reasons, I have no idea why, I can't connect to my client machine to, it says DNS name failure, and Azure Diagnostic doesn't show me any problems. It says machine is working, and I even turn off all of the, I make even RDP public, just for everyone. Even Azure started to complain, but it's not working. Let me try to, if it will not work, I will do it from server. I will do it from server. Let me try that one last time. Oh, for some reasons it's working from here. Maybe I made some bad configuration. All right, let me connect to it. Trainer. By the way, you can connect either because I turned off all of the. I opened RDP for everyone. Login time failure? Really? Oh. Let me see more choices. One moment. All right, so let me drag that. here. All right, so let's wait a second, and then I will be able to show you how can we use those credentials. So now we have MSL user account. Also, let me check one thing. Maybe I just missed the IP address here. Of course, surname client. Surname is like this. Now it should be better. And yeah, all the rest should be fine. Let's try like that. Yeah, it's working. That's why it didn't work. All right, so now let's try to use that. I'm going to open CMD as an administrator. All right. And at the same time, I'm going to open CMD as, guess what? MSOL user. So I'm going back to connector, copy this MSOL, and put here, and the same I will do for password. I hope I will not lose any symbols. All right, so should be fine now. So let's take a look first. Who am I? Here. And here it says I'm a user named John Doe. If I try to dir AD connector -DC1 $, really? One moment. Maybe AD connect. Not found. One last try. Oh, really? Yeah, you can see it better. So we can try some options, and finally DC1 probably should work. Nope. All right, so I have a last one. If I don't remember the name, because usually when I deliver this session, I use my Elgato and just push the buttons. Sorry, the script there. Let me just find the name quickly and take a look at the host name. Hey, come on, it's just a CMD. Host name. AD Connect DC1. I think it should be fine. AD Connect DC1. I think I used that name. Oh, finally. That last one was correct. Access denied. So I don't have an access. If I look at as a user JDO, I don't have access to the main controller C drive. If I look at the same here, who am I? I'm a user MSOL. And if I try to look at the main controller, I should also have access denied. Yeah, access denied. So what I can do now as this MSOL user, I can open folder with tool Mimikatz. And what I want to do, remember, I have permissions to replicate. So I can use feature of Mimikatz called LSA dump DC sync. And a user I want to get from, and it allowed me to get information about any user and replicate information about them. So let me replicate trainer, who is my domain administrator. And now I have NTLM hash of domain admin. All right? So because I was MSOL, I have privileges to replicate any password hash. And so I was able to replicate password hash of domain admin. Now, next step is to go to this folder as a local admin, elevate my privileges, debug, and use pass the hash. So let's say secure LSA, pth user trainer, then domain is cantos.com, and finally ntlm is my hash I can get from here. So this one. All right, and one more try. This time, let's say dir//ad connect DC1 C $. Yay! It means I have privileges of the administrator, and I can do whatever I want in this domain. So by taking the user MSOL from AD Connect, I can compromise the whole domain. And that's I will give you recommendations in the end, but that's what I usually quite oftenly see. Like in companies, AD Connect admins, they are not domain admins. It depends, of course, but quite often in company there's a thinking like AD Connect is not domain controller, so let we allow to manage this domain control. I mean this AD Connect just a regular admin like server admin. I even saw the help desk admins were able to manage AD Connect, but anyone who has access to domain AD Connect can become domain admin pretty easily. Make sense? All right, so I will also, in the end, we'll have one slide with mitigations. All right, next one. That was AD Connect. But let's say we want to go to the cloud. We want to be modern. And so let's switch from AD Connect, from older AD Connect, to what's called Cloud Sync. Cloud Sync. Have you heard about Cloud Sync? Do I need to explain it, or you're fine? Cloud Sync. All right, let me just say a few words about that. So if you just Google about that, AD Connect Cloud Sync, what's that? What is Cloud Sync? So Cloud Sync is a new offering from Microsoft. And in other words, it will be AD Connect in the cloud. So you don't need to install the full server. This server will be as the managed service of your Azure AD. All right? And so all you need to install locally is agent that will connect your on-prem environment to the cloud service. All configurations like enable password hash sync, what users you want to synchronize, and so on, you will done in the cloud in Azure AD. Because if you ever click on Azure AD, which now called Entra, where is Azure AD in my case? Oh, here we go. So if you ever click on that and click AD Connect, you may find option here, Manage Azure AD Cloud Sync. So that's where you can download agent and configure your Cloud Sync environment. All right, so now let's jump back to demo. And let's take a look if we can do the same or something similar with Cloud Sync. So if I install Cloud Sync, it will be just an agent. So there's no full server. All you have is just an agent. You run installation, and in installation you must provide cloud credentials. That's it. And what you will get on your server, in that case, where services are. Services. So on your local server, you will find new service called monitoring agents. Sorry. Where? Oh, AD Connect provision agent. So this one. This one. Let's try again. This one. That's all you have. Let me open that and take a look at logon credentials. I can see that credentials use GMSA, Group Managed Service Account. Anyone work with GMSA before? All right, good. Do I need to explain that GMSA doesn't store credentials locally? All right, I will do it. So let's try to use Mimikatz real quick and see if I can dump credentials of the GMSA. So let me go to Tools, run Mimikatz. No, Mimikatz. Let me fix that real quick. Yeah, so PSExec, but no Mimikatz. Let's just take Mimikatz from here. Sometimes Defender AV kills that. Let me go back to agent and paste here. Nice. So let me open Mimikatz real quick. Say privilege debug. Privilege debug. And let's say secure LSA. Logon passwords. And now let's try to find credentials of this GMSA. Let's start from the top. Not yet. That's my trainer credentials. No GMSA, it must be there. Oh, here we go. So look at this. Here's Contoso agent GMSA, but instead of password, by the way, I turn on wdigest to see plain text passwords. Instead of password, I can see this value. It doesn't really look like password, right? And if you look at the hash, so hash, that's the hashed value of that underscore say something something. So there's no locally stored password on this machine. So it looks like GMSA is quite secure, right? But let's take a look how we can try to extract this information we need. So I can find GMSA in my On-Prem ID. And GMSA has one of the properties is entity that may retrieve password. So some accounts in your AD must have privilege to retrieve password from GMSA. And we can find that if I with PowerShell very easily. So let me open PowerShell and let me use this command. I usually zoom it, but all right, let me do it. So let me click on that. And now we can see that there is one principal that can retrieve password, which is called agent. So it looks like the server where I install agent will be able to retrieve password. Make sense? So again, let's start over. If I'm a local admin on this server, I can do whatever I want with just this GMSA. So I can do it in two different manners. So one manner is the most simple, is by using PSExec. So let me just do it real quick. Hey, where's my, oh, here we go. Let me open that. I think I must be local, oh, I'm already admin, so tools, yeah. Tools, come on, CD, C, tools. Thank you. All right, so if I run PSExec like this, so I want to run CMD as agent, and look at this. So password is tilde, means I'm going to retrieve that. So if I have a privilege to retrieve, I will be able to do it. Let's try CMD again. Who am I? Agent. And so let me, for the sake of time, let me just quickly show you that this agent, if I turn on password hash sync, has the same privilege. All right? If you don't mind, I'm not going to show you again all of this sync and pass the hash. You got an idea, so I can do the same. That's the one way how can I extract, how can I use this agent account. Let's try something else. Let me close that. This time I must open I must open PowerShell as local system. I must open PowerShell as local system. So I'm running psexec. Say that I want to do it interactively as the system and powershell.exe. All right, PowerShell. And now let's try to extract password and find the real hash of that managed account. So first, I'll also use get service account. And then I will try to convert this blob to NTLM hash. Oh, you asked me to increase the font. Let me do it again. $28 should be fine. I must copy it again. Yeah. So next step, pass the hash. So that's the real hash of that service. Make sense? All right. So I have only 15 minutes to be fair, so I should move on. Not sure we'll have a lot of time for questions. All right. So next step, we got domain admin credentials in different manners from AD Connect, from Cloud Sync. We got domain admin. Now, but I'm local here. I'm only local. I'm not in the cloud. I want to go to the cloud. How can we go to the cloud? Let me show you one of the ways that not always considered as known is, let me show you the slide first, is cached credentials. Cached credentials. So you may steal token. So when you use ACLI or PowerShell, it will store. So let me ask you a question. When you use do you work with AZ CLI or PowerShell AZ modules? Yep. So when you open the PowerShell or CLI, you don't need to type connect AZ account, AZ login every time, right? You don't need. Yes, but when you have a token already have a token, it will have MFA. It will have MFA already there inside the token. Yeah. So why you don't need to provide credentials every time? Because tokens are stored locally, and they stored in a folder in your profile called .azure. So before some of the changes, maybe you heard about that stuff like Microsoft moved from ADAL to ADAL to MSAL. Maybe you heard about that. So when it was ADAL, when they use ADAL, all tokens stored in plain text. So PowerShell moved from that a year ago. CLI moved from it a couple of months ago. So if we find the older version, we can just take a token right from the disk, just by connecting using SMB protocol. We are domain admins, we can do whatever we want. And we can find the folder of developer or administrator and get tokens in a plain text from their workstation. Let me quickly show you how it looks like on the older version. On the older version first. So here I have AZ version. Look at this. There's a version 2.14.2. So starting from 2.30, they moved to MSAL, as that's CLI, so a couple of months ago. And if I look at the folder, my users, and in this folder, I don't have any tokens. Let me try to log in. So let's say AZ login. Let me provide the credentials. I have an MFA, of course. I do. All right, and so now if I go back to my Azure folder, in older version, look at this, access token.json, that was a plain text file in the version before 2.30, when I can find plain text tokens. In PowerShell, they moved from that a year ago, so because for PowerShell, they also have file tokens, cache, but they moved from that a year ago. CLI is not yet. I mean, they moved, but just a couple of months ago. So if you find the older version, so we can find the plain text. And here's the token. What I can do with this token? Let me take that. So that's bearer token. Let me copy this. Let me go to another workstation. Open PowerShell here. And say get AZVM. So let's see. Nothing. So no subscription found in the context. Run connect AZ account. All right, let's run that. Say connect AZ account. And if I type account token, I can use the token. But first, let's do it like this. So let's say $token equals to this long value. And let's try again. So connect AZ account. Account token, $token. And also I need account ID. That will be my gadmin. Faster to type it. Gadmin at all right, everything's correct. Oh no. Unable to acquire token for tenant organization with error.
Scroll up a bit. There you have another parameter in the middle.
Damn it, sorry, too much. So let me copy only that part. Thank you. Token equals to like that. Let's try again. Oh. Yeah, thank you. You see the things that I can see. But I have a justification, it's quite hard to do it like that. All right, so get AZ VM. I have only one VM here, but I'm in the cloud with PowerShell. Make sense? All right, so I have 8 minutes. I hope you don't have any questions, right? So one more thing I'm going to show you. In the newer version, fortunately for defenders, unfortunately for attackers, credentials will not be stored in the plain text. And so I must take one more step to extract credentials. I can do it from PowerShell, or I can do it from CLI. It doesn't really matter. But just different ways to get credentials. Let me show you how it may be done. So if I do the same in a newer version of CLI or PowerShell, again, they are encrypted. I can't just copy the file and find plain text token there. What I can do, I can run extra command like AZ account get access token from AZ CLI. Let's do it there where was initial when. So like that. And here's the access token in plain text. In PowerShell, I can do it with command, so let me avoid to run that. So what I can do, if I find the PowerShell session, what I can do, I can run save context and save the context in a JSON file, and token will be there either. And then I can use token in the plain text, or even easily, I can import AZ context. So for the sake of time, try it yourself. Make sense? So because we are domain admins, we can explore any workstation on the network and get tokens from there. All right, I promise you AzureHound. So I promise you that. Let me quickly show you. So let's say I have access to PowerShell. So I'm an admin in the cloud. And now what I want to do, I want to enumerate this cloud environment. So I saw a few folks here with Bloodhound t-shirt. So probably you're aware what Bloodhound is. And Bloodhound has younger brother called AzureHound that may enumerate cloud. So let me run it real quick. And say import module AzureHound. What is that? MZ. How to deal with MZ, you know? And to be fair, AzureHound takes a while to run. So let me avoid that because we have very limited time. So here's the output from AzureHound. So it gives me a zip file with bunch of JSON, and it shows me enumeration of my users, VMs, and so on. So next step is to, oh damn it, I rebooted the machine. So let me just neo4j console. Let me run the console real quick. And let me go to downloads and find that. One moment. Make sure it started. Let's try. Success. All right, so then I'm going to graph interface and say upload data. And I should have Bloodhound already here, so the same file I copied already here. I mean AzureHound. Oh, here you go, AzureHound collection. All right, that's it, I guess. Now, I should have a lot of information about accounts and so on. For AzureHound, we don't have pre-built queries, so we must use our own queries. There's a nice article on the web called AzureHound Cipher cheat sheet. And here you may find a number of queries, examples of queries. Let's say return all global admins. Let me take that. And here are, so we can see two users. One user is gadmin. Another one is the guest user. And they all lead to domain administration of this tenant. All right, so hope it makes sense. And finally, let me jump to the last slide with mitigations. About first problem, when we had AD Connect Cloud Sync forest. So keep in mind, it must be always tier 0. Always, always, always. Allow only domain admin to manage that. With cached credentials, so first of all, make sure you update your PowerShell and CLI. So you're using newer version, because in this case, it's harder to steal credentials. One more thing. In credentials, we have access token and refresh token. So access token valid only for 1 hour, but the refresh token will refresh your access token. So in that case, you will always, so those credentials will always be fresh. What you can do, you may manually revoke a refresh token. I have it on my GitHub. Let me show you real quick how it can be done. And then you may take a picture of the screen. So what I'm doing here, I'm taking all domain admins, so taking members of all domain admins, and then for all of them, I revoke a refresh token. So the command itself, commandlet itself, is called revoke AD token, revoke Azure AD user all refresh token. It must be done for user IDs. You can't do it for username. And all the things before that is just a extraction of members of the group, of the role. But again, you just need to know about commandlet. All the rest you may find yourself. I mean, all the rest you can create yourself. And for AzureHound, also be careful with privileges, because when someone can enumerate everything in the subscription, that's not the best idea. All right. So one more slide. So that was my last session. So I mean here in this conference. So other sessions, maybe next time, or if you attend any other conferences where I speak. Wow, we have 1 minute and 15 seconds for questions. Maybe I'll have some extra time. All right, any questions? Oh, so I can talk even one more minute. I really don't have questions, or just because we're oh yeah.
I've got one. I'm Thomas from Hamburg. The MSOL account is scattered all over the place in the AD, isn't it? So
is what?
In many groups, so admin groups and so on. And somebody told us, don't touch it, leave it, the MSOL account there.
Yeah.
So why is it, and what is it, any danger?
Have you seen the, sorry, let me repeat the question. So the question was about MSOL account. Is it dangerous? Should we do anything with that? I think I showed that in the beginning. Maybe you joined a bit later. Okay, so MSOL account can be used to replicate, can be used for many things, to be fair. You don't need to really touch it, because MSOL account allows you to, first of all, read your users in your on-prem ID. If you want to synchronize them, you must read them first. But also, the more features you configure, the more permissions a MSOL account will have. And so here's the table. Like here's what a MSOL account used for, and here what privileges they have. So for example, if you enable password writeback, also quite famous feature. In this case, a MSOL account will have reset password privilege. So the more features you configure, the more a MSOL account will have, more privileges it will have. So you don't really need to touch it, but you should be aware that a MSOL account is quite privileged. And in my demo, I showed how I can use password hash sync to dump hashes of any admin in the domain. Thanks for the question. I wonder. So yesterday, I think the session yesterday was quite geeky, and I expect that you may not ask any questions about the craziness. And this one is a bit more relaxed. All right, maybe don't have questions because we're out of time. Then let me jump to the last slide again. So thank you very much for your participation. It was my pleasure to work with you. And biggest suggestion to you, keep in mind that all the things I showed is not just vulnerabilities, is like a typical configurations or misconfigurations. And so what you should do is to avoid those misconfigurations. Quite often, it's not really weaknesses of the product, not only weakness of the product, but specific of the product and your configuration as well. So I hope that gave you an idea what kind of configurations you should avoid in your company. So thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye-bye.